Grapevine Lake, Texas, about 20 miles northwest of Dallas. September 14th, 2016, 6:30 a.m. The fire department received a call about something burning near Grapevine Lake. When they arrived at the scene, they saw a small children's pool, and inside it was a dismembered body. The body was so badly burned that it was impossible to tell whether it was a child or an adult, a man or a woman. It was an extremely gruesome scene, and the detectives said that in all their years on the job, they had never seen anything like it.
They located a body that appeared to have been set on fire. The body, there was some degree of dismemberment to the body. Investigators and crime scene technicians arrived on the scene and began investigating shortly thereafter. We requested the response of the FBI evidence removal and recovery team to assist us in that investigation.
There was enough skin left on the fingers, and thanks to the fingerprints, they were able to identify the victim. She turned out to be 24-year-old Jacqueline Ray. To everyone in her life, she was simply Jackie. She had nothing with her, no bags, no personal belongings, but it was quickly discovered that she lived about 20 miles away, from here, in Denton. The extent of the dismemberment shocked even the investigators. Her heart had been cut out. A witness saw a person, Jackie, as he believed, standing over the fire before leaving the scene, but he couldn't say anything specific about him. A day later, her Twitter account became active and a post appeared on her profile, "Never knew I could feel like this." The most likely conclusion was that her killer had taken possession of her phone and now a hunt had begun to find him.
Everyone, my name is Jacqueline Vandagriff, but friends call me Jackie. I am currently a junior here at Texas Women's University, and my major is nutrition with an emphasis in wellness. I chose this major because I realized while working as an esthetician, which is skincare if you're not familiar, I realized the importance of nutrition and just overall health, and decided that this is what I was going to study. So thank you for watching. I am really looking forward to learning about all of you and learning with you in this class.
Jackie Vandagriff was always like a super avid reader. She was genuinely fascinated by learning just about everything she could get her hands on. She was also really active and athletic. I mean, at a super young age, just 3 years old, she started doing gymnastics, and later on she was even competing at level 5 in state competitions. Her best friend was also named Jackie, which is kind of sweet, and people lovingly called them Jackie Squared. Her friend said she was the smartest person she had ever known, like truly. Jackie had this kind of potential where it felt like she could accomplish absolutely anything in life. She accepted people exactly as they were, and around her it was just easy to be yourself. She was confident and open, but at the same time really calm in a way that just, kind of disarmed people. After graduating from school in Frisco, Texas, she got her esthetician license, and then she enrolled at Texas Women's University in Denton, Texas. Her long-standing interest in health and fitness followed her there too when she chose to major in nutrition and food science with the goal of becoming a dietitian in the future. Everything seemed to be going well. Jackie was happy and her life was unfolding exactly the way she wanted. At 24 years old, she had recently told her friends that she wanted to get off dating apps and start meeting people in real life instead. She was hoping to meet someone face to face. And she was also looking for a part-time job. So with that in mind, less than 12 hours before she was found on the evening of September 13th, 2016, Jackie went to a bar in Denton to ask about job openings and, put herself out there. Detectives were later able to track her movements to several locations near the University of North Texas. First, she went into Fry Street Public House Bar. After she sat down at the bar and started talking to the bartender, a man who had been sitting 2 seats away joined their conversation. It seemed like they really hit it off. They were laughing, showing each other things on their phones, having drinks together. Jackie, that man, and the bartender all left at the same time. But then Jackie and the man went on to another bar called Shots and Crafts. They sat together at the bar and a group of women joined them. The whole group ended up spending about 30 minutes together. Then at 9:45 in the evening, Jackie and that man left together. No one followed them out, and it didn't seem like anyone was watching Jackie. They got into his car and he drove off to a gas station. Security cameras captured Jackie in the front passenger seat. She looked calm, like completely at ease with everything that was happening. Nothing seemed off in that moment. But those were the last images ever recorded of Jackie, and after that their trail just disappears. Surprisingly, several women they had met at the Shots and Crafts bar were able to name him. He had given one of them his business card when they started talking about fitness. His name was Charles Dean, a 30-year-old personal trainer and bartender. Charles lived about 20 miles away from Greff and Light, but he was in the Dayton area. Trying to rekindle his relationship with his ex-girlfriend, Caitlin, a background check revealed several offenses over the past few years. A collection of documents, marijuana possession, and a minor assault charge. But there was something more troubling. He had been arrested 3 times for stalking and harassing Caitlin. Moreover, 3 days before Jackie was taken down, a restraining order was issued against him. 18-year-old Caitlin had started dating 29-year-old Charles back in June, just 3 months earlier. At first, he seemed charming fun, like the kind of guy who'd show up with flowers and make a good impression. One of their favorite date spots was Grapevine Lake. But then that instinct, you know how people talk about a mother's intuition. Caitlin's mom said that the moment she looked at him, she felt it deep down something wasn't right, that he was dangerous. She told her daughter, "He's going to hurt you. He's going to do something bad." And not long after that, Caitlin started noticing the red flags herself, controlling behavior, toxic patterns, things that just didn't sit right. Eventually, she made the decision to end the relationship. And yeah, he didn't take it well. He became obsessive. He created fake email accounts just to reach out to her, showed up wherever she was, and started telling anyone who would listen that Caitlin was crazy. The 18-year-old finally felt some relief when she moved to the University of North Texas, a fresh start far away from him. But when he showed up at the door of her dorm room, that's when it became truly terrifying. She had never told him where she lived. And yet there he was, standing there with a bouquet of flowers and a letter, somehow getting past campus security. Caitlin hid in her closet and called 911. He was arrested, but then later that same day he showed up on campus again.
I heard him say he hates Charles and something for you.
You know for sure it was him.
Yeah, I know. So.
027, myself, a 443 and a beyond. You have school here?
No.
What's your name?
Another woman he had gone on a few dates with ended up going through something really similar. They barely even interacted, they hadn't even kissed, and yet Charles told her he loved her. She said everything was moving way too fast. He would open up to her about his childhood, about how he had been abused when he was younger, and honestly, the way he talked, the way he acted it made her believe him. Now investigators had phone records that started to piece together a much clearer timeline. After they were seen in the car at the gas station, both Jackie's and Charles's phones showed that they left Denton and drove toward the Haslett area where Charles lived. At 10:56 that night, Charles logged into Facebook and posted, "Teach you tricks that will blow your mind." Jackie's phone was detected near his house at around 1:30 in the morning. And then at 4:41 a.m., surveillance cameras captured Charles walking through Walmart where he bought a shovel. Less than 2 hours later, Jackie's body was found burning. The next day, Charles posted on Facebook again, writing, "Full moon, let's see what trouble I can get into." And he even tried to contact Caitlin again. At that point, the evidence was just stacking up more and more. And now he had become the main suspect in her murder. Investigators called Caitlin and asked if she was safe. The first thing she asked was, "Is this because of the murder that happened in Grapevine? Is this about Charles?" They couldn't confirm anything, but she already knew everything. Since he showed up with Caitlin, which was a violation of the court order, the police were able to arrest him. And this gave them the perfect opportunity to question him about Jackie. On September 18th, just 4 days after Jackie was found, Charles was already at the station. They showed him a photo of Jackie, and he said that he might have seen her at the bar, but there was nothing between them, and he didn't know her personally. While they were talking, law enforcement officers were at his home searching everything thoroughly. They still couldn't clearly explain exactly how she died, and this made it difficult to bring charges against him, especially considering that he was starting to withdraw into himself. That's when they decided to call in the Texas Ranger. He specialized in high-profile murder cases.
Hey, how you doing? Today, so.
He was convinced that he was the one who needed to take this case on. Jim said that a lot of people like that, they eventually tell on themselves, like they want to say it out loud to someone. And Charles, he knew exactly what had happened to Jackie, and he was going to talk.
You know, you're not a violent dude. You haven't really been in trouble. You know, you obviously work out. I mean, you're a stud, right?
He went with a good cop approach, trying to get on Charles's side. He wanted him to see him almost like a drinking buddy, you know, someone easy to talk to. And it worked. Charles was talkative, smiling, clearly comfortable, like he trusted Jim. The longer they talked, the closer Jim leaned in toward him while Charles sat there in the corner. It started to feel like the walls were closing in, and Charles was getting really close to finally saying what had happened. Eventually, Jim got him to admit that he was with Jackie that night. He said he overheard her asking about a job and just kind of joined the conversation. Then he claimed that when they were leaving the bar, it was raining, so he offered to give her a ride home. She was grateful and she agreed.
It makes sense, it was raining, I probably would offer to ride home.
Jim could tell he was getting really close to the truth, so he ordered them some pizza and coffee. Then, as he casually placed a few slices onto a paper plate, he calmly brought up Caitlin, just kind of slipping the question in.
Was there a time that you pictured her as this girlfriend that did you wrong, or did anything like that come into play?
No.
Was the fact that you started talking to Jackie somehow connected to her? Like, was this some kind of revenge? But Charles just said no, and then went quiet.
Okay, so something happens, bam, there's a snap, and we need to figure out what that is. And maybe, she got mad. Maybe she's giving you all the signals and then cut you off. I mean, there could be all kinds of different things going on here, right? I mean, chicks, right? Chicks?
But after about 3 hours, Charles changed his story. He said that things in the car had turned intimate, claiming it was consensual, and that she had supposedly asked him to choke her with a zip tie. Jim knew right away that the whole consent story was a lie, and the medical examiner later confirmed it. There was absolutely no evidence of any sexual contact. Charles went on to say that neither of them had intended to tighten the zip tie, that he didn't even remember how it happened. But then, all of a sudden, he looked down and Jackie wasn't breathing anymore.
She didn't fight you in any way when you... So you think you just tightened up on its own, basically?
Not so much that, like, it had a snag on something or...
Okay. Then what happened?
She's not responsive. Shake her.
Jim said it was complete nonsense. He explained that when you deal with people like that, you almost never get the full story from start to finish. There's always something they're holding back, the parts that make them look bad. They try to frame themselves as the victim, or like they just somehow ended up in a situation by accident. And honestly, he said, the level of absurdity in what Charles was saying was just kind of unbelievable. Jim was convinced that Charles killed Jackie on purpose, and that it was most likely fueled by his growing obsession with his ex-girlfriend, Caitlin.
Kenny, what do you see in the pool?
Garbage bags.
Right, now tell me exactly what you see occurring after that.
Go down that trail.
And what happens next?
Set it on fire.
The fire. Why do you burn the body?
Stored evidence.
In Charles's house, they found a whole array of evidence. A large hunting knife, which they believed had been used for dismemberment. Jackie's bag from the University of Texas was also found in his trash. They found a white plastic zip tie with Jackie's hair stuck in it. In his car, they discovered Jackie's phone battery and a stun gun with Jackie's DNA on its electrodes. The kiddie pool where she was found also came from his yard. In addition, materials related to child abuse were found on his phone. Thanks to the incredible work of Jim Holland during the interrogation, Grapevine police were able to charge Charles with Jackie's murder. Jim had nearly 30 years of experience working in law enforcement and had investigated hundreds of murders, but he himself said that Jackie's case stands out to him on many levels. Charles was showing all the classic signs of a serial killer in the making. He said, I think that was his first failed attempt at murder. Would he have stopped? I mean, why would he stop? I have absolutely no doubt that if Bryant hadn't been arrested by the Grapevine police, he would have kept killing, and honestly, he would have gotten better at it. And the better he got, the harder it would have been to catch him. Caitlin logged into Facebook the night he was arrested, and just sat there in shock reading what had happened. After she typed Jackie's name into the search, she completely froze. They were already friends on Facebook. The day after Charles killed Jackie, he posted on Twitter from her account, and he also used her phone to log into Facebook and add Caitlin as a friend. Caitlin said, I think he really wanted to kill me. I think he wanted me dead. I don't know if he was trying to send me some kind of message or just release his anger, but he went way too far. Jim agreed and added, I think he walked into that bar with intent. I really do. I think he was planning to kill someone that night. It didn't even matter who. In the end, she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she looked too much like his ex-girlfriend. After the charges were filed, a memorial service was held in Jackie's hometown of Frisco.
Tonight, family and friends are mourning the loss of Jackie Vandagriff, the TWU student murdered last week.
A vigil has just begun in Frisco, and NTTV's Blake Holland is here with more. Blake?
Drake and Shelby, tonight friends and family of Jackie Vandagriff are gathered here at Frisco Common Park not to remember the horrific crime that occurred last week, but to look back on the life of a young woman gone too soon.
Yeah, you don't ever think something like this could happen to somebody you know.
Friends like Olivia Reyes, who recently started living with Jackie, were shocked to hear the news this week that a body found burned and mutilated last Wednesday in Grapevine had been identified as Jackie.
Disbelief. I was really shocked. It's really difficult news to process, and I'm still going through that process right now, but it's upsetting.
On Sunday, police arrested this man, 30-year-old Charles Bryant, on a charge of capital murder. Surveillance video shows the pair at a Denton bar just hours before her body was found. Cell phone records also show the two traveled from the bar to Bryant's Haslett home. A purse belonging to Vandagriff was found by police in a trash can at the home on Sunday. And in the hours before Vandagriff's body was found, Bryant is seen purchasing a shovel at an area Walmart, matching up with evidence in his backyard that someone had tried to dig a hole. Despite the large amount of evidence, those who knew Vandagriff were still left with questions into the murder of a selfless friend who they say did not deserve this.
Something like this should never happen.
And we do know tonight that Charles Dean Bryant does remain in jail on $1 million bond on that charge of capital murder. Tonight's candlelight vigil is set to get underway and around sunset. We're live in Frisco. Blake Holland, NTTV News.
Charles Bryant pleaded not guilty, so the case moved forward to trial. His attorneys argued that her death was an accident, a tragic one, no question, but still an accident. They told the jury that the two had been drinking heavily and had a consensual sexual encounter in his car. According to them, after she died, he panicked, drunk, confused, and decided to get rid of the body and cover his tracks. Yeah, it was wrong. It was definitely destruction of evidence, but not murder. But prosecutors pushed back hard. They said the medical examiner had already ruled out any sexual assault and there wasn't a single piece of evidence showing any kind of sexual contact. Her belongings were found in his house and in his car, and he had clearly tried to get rid of them. Her DNA was on a taser, and her hair was found on a cable tie. And then there's the dismemberment. Honestly, that alone paints a pretty dark picture. If this was really an accident, then why go that far? The prosecution said, why remove the heart? What does that have to do with disposing of a body? I want you to really think about that. And the motive. Prosecutors saw it the same way Jim did. They believed it was tied to stalking and harassment involving Caitlin. They suggested Jackie may have been the first victim and Caitlin could have been next. And there's another disturbing possibility that removing Jackie's heart wasn't just random, it may have carried a very specific symbolic meaning.
And now, her accused killer is finally on trial.
That's right. Testimony started today in the trial of Charles Bryant Jr., the man seen with Jackie at the bar that night. Our David Goins has been tweeting and updating us from the courtroom. He joins us now live with the latest from the court today.
Good afternoon, Cynthia. Testimony wrapped up here about 10 minutes ago. Jurors so far have heard descriptions but have not yet seen surveillance video at a variety of Denton businesses that show Jackie Vandagriff with the man prosecutors say killed her hours later.
It's my daughter, Jackie.
On the stand today, Ricky Vandagriff says it wasn't like Jackie to not call or to make plans for her mom's birthday. It was on that day, just a few hours later, the couple learned that Jackie was dead. During opening statements, defense attorneys admit that Bryant did commit a crime by attempting to dispose of her body, but they told jurors that she died during what the defense called consensual sex in Bryant's car.
He went out. He is in the car with a young lady who has died during the course of sex.
However, prosecutors plan to lay out Jackie's final hours for jurors to show how Bryant took the vibrant 24-year-old out of a bar and away from her loved ones forever.
Tragically, an evil, destructive figure stepped in front of her on that path.
Jurors on Tuesday are expected to see a lot of surveillance video in the courtroom. This trial is expected to last all week. Charles Bryant faces life in prison if he's found guilty. Live in Fort Worth, David Goins.
The judge had to decide whether Kathleen's story and her experience with him were relevant enough to be admitted as evidence. So, without the jury present, Kathleen bravely took the stand and told the court everything. Unfortunately, this was a blow to the prosecution. The judge decided that Kathleen could not tell the whole story to the jury. In another interesting decision, the prosecution declined to show the lengthy interrogation of Jim Holland. Instead, they stated that if Charles wanted to begin and tell his story, he could do so himself, in court. Although to some, this might have seemed like a risky move. In reality, it was very smart. Would he be able to remember what he said before and stick to his version? Would he get confused about the chronology? This was a very powerful way to trap him in his own lies. Charles refused to testify.
Ken Molestina here with us. We saw you on the 4 o'clock show earlier, but you spent much of your day in court. What was going on inside?
Well, you know, a lot of just routine second-day kind of testimony. You know, we know this. The details about Jacqueline Vandagriff's murder, those are certainly gruesome. But today, the testimony from the stand, it mainly focused on placing both the victim and the suspect, Charles Bryant, in the same place on September 13th, 2016.
She seemed just fine. We just chatted about how her night was going, school, typical things.
UNT student Sherry Bogue was one of the witnesses on day 2 of the trial. She testified to seeing both Vandagriff and Bryant out for drinks along Fry Street in Denton the night she was last seen alive. Surveillance video used in the trial showed as much.
The female sat pretty close to us, and, us ladies, we wanted to go and talk to her, so we chatted with her for a little bit. And then the man was talking to the bartender and then eventually to us.
Aside from Bogue, Tuesday's testimony mostly dealt with a list of expert witnesses, which also included an FBI agent who explained how cell phone data was used to track both Vandagriff and Bryant's phones that night.
The next activity I have is on the victim's phone from 12:58 to 1:32 a.m. And the phone, the bar is kind of about right here. So we started moving south. And so 12:58, utilize this tower sector. Then it shifts, goes farther south at 1:16 a.m. And then at 1:10 a.m., so kind of somewhere between 1:10 and 1:16, so this overlap.
When both sides finished presenting their evidence, they each felt confident in their case. But in the end, the jury sided with the prosecution.
A quick verdict in the murder of TWU student Jackie Vandagriff. Tarrant County jurors taking just 2 hours to find Charles Bryant guilty.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Charles B. Bryant, Jr., guilty of the offense of murder.
He was found guilty of intentional murder. Since no additional aggravating factors like kidnapping or sexual assault were proven, he avoided the death penalty. In 2018, he was sentenced to life in prison.
In a statement, Jackie Vandagriff's parents said this is the day they've waited more than 19 months for. However, it certainly doesn't ease any of the grief over the loss of their daughter. Her convicted killer, Charles Bryant, today in court showed no reaction when the jury convicted him of murder and then sentenced him to life in prison. Now, during closing arguments for the sentencing phase, prosecutors brought up the fact that Charles Bryant had a stalking incident with a previous girlfriend and that investigators had also discovered child pornography on his phone. 2 additional reasons they told jurors to sentence him to the max of life in prison. After the verdict was read, Vandagriff's family, who sat through days of horrific and graphic testimony surrounding her murder, shared that they are starting an endowment at TWU in Denton, where Jackie went to school, to, in their words, build on her legacy of kindness and compassion.
It was a hard case. It was hard for the state. It was hard for the defense. But I think that our system works.
Bryant's attorneys added they have already appealed the decision. He also was convicted of 20 years in prison for tampering with evidence. That will be served at the same time that this life sentence that the jury handed down this afternoon. Live in Tarrant County, David Goins, Channel 8 News.
He'll be eligible to apply for parole in 20 years, but that doesn't guarantee anything. Caitlin said she's still haunted by this feeling of guilt, like somehow she was at the center of what happened to Jackie. She thinks about it every single day. But the truth is, there was nothing she could have done. This is a tragedy on every level. That night, Jackie walked into the bar with something so simple in mind, just to meet new people and maybe find a job. And yeah, she did meet someone she seemed to click with right away. You meet new people and you believe most of them are good. She was laughing, talking, opening up. She got into his car, trusting him, thinking he just wanted to help her get home in the rain. She must have thought he was a genuinely good person. And the thought of that moment when she realized the danger she was in, it's just heartbreaking. Jackie's family created a health and wellness internship at Texas Women's University in her honor. Her friends say she left behind a bright legacy and that the world feels darker without her. Her uncle said, "What would Jackie say if we could talk to her? We believe she'd say, 'Remember me, remember my dreams, my hopes for the future, and my plans to make them real.'" This story is not just about a crime. It's about trust, which sometimes can cost far too much, and about how fragile an ordinary evening can be, one that starts out so innocently. Jackie just wanted to meet new people, find a job, and move forward in life. She was doing what millions of people do every day. She chatted, laughed, and opened up from the photos. But sometimes it only takes one person for all of that to end forever. It's a reminder that evil doesn't always look threatening at first glance. It can smile, joke, and inspire trust. Until it's too late. Take care of yourselves, friends, trust your intuition, and never ignore warning signs, even if they seem insignificant. And the memory of Jackie is not just about tragedy, it's about the light she left behind, which is worth carrying forward. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Have a nice day.